Welcome to the Obviously Rare podcast. I am your host, Michael T. Porter. This is a podcast that represents a nation of people that are not afraid to separate themselves from the rest of the pack. Not afraid to stand alone. Not afraid to strive for excellence. Not afraid to strive for greatness. And will not be shamed into mingling with the trash. Will not be shamed into indulging in negative thinking. Ain't no podcast like this. The way we move, the way we talk, the way we walk, all of the intellectual conversations, all the good times, all this positive energy. There ain't nobody like us. Ain't nothing but diamonds over here. Ain't nothing but sapphires. Ain't nothing but rubies and emeralds over here. There's no need to compare because you won't find nobody like us. How y'all doing out there? How y'all doing? Does my voice sound real sexy? All over the airways. Does it sound sexy? The reason I come at y'all like this, I'm going to jump into this story. I just want to give you a little bit of background. The reason why I approach things the way I do, because what I've noticed in America is that they love shaming black men for being excellent. Overall, they shame human beings as a whole for being excellent, getting right with God, getting yourself some goddamn money, having some confidence in combat, having some confidence in learning a new trade, or going to a university and getting your damn degree. They shame smart people. They shame godly people. They shame people who want the best, not only for themselves, but others around them. This is what I mean by we are rare. There's something divine, there's something special by the Holy Spirit that is embedded in us. And that's why I say don't ever let somebody around you shame you into thinking poorly, into thinking negatively, right? See, when you a black man and you start talking like this, you think you better than somebody, nigga. You think you better. Maybe. It may be. I don't know, but I just know that I gotta get that goddamn money. I know that I gotta be influential. I know I gotta make a change, not only in my life, but encourage others to make a change in their life. If I don't have the information, all I can do is, encourage or wish at the bare minimum, wish the best for those that are suffering, wish the best for those that actually want something out of life. You're not going to shame me into thinking like a bum. You're not going to shame me into moving like a bum. I'm a king, and I will be addressed as such, and I will move accordingly. You feel me? And y'all should see the people that support my podcast. Y'all understand because y'all move the same way. My kings, my queens, not just black kings and queens, kings and queens of other cultures too. The way you move, always thinking about building, always thinking about what's the next step so I can get to the next level. We're gonna go there. Speaking of trash, we got a man here who has a long history of breaking into people's homes, and he's demon possessed. It's obvious, and he broke into this pastor's wife home and brutally beat her, and it looks like she will not make it. The woman is a white woman, 84. Her husband is a pastor, and the suspect is a nigger. He's 56, out of the Orlando area, if I'm not mistaken. Let's dive into this. I got a video I want to play for y'all, and I'm gonna be right back with you to give you my opinion. Let's get it.
Behind bars again tonight. This time police say he broke into a pastor's home and attacked his wife. Records show she was beaten so badly that the 85-year-old woman is not likely to survive.
So as we've been digging into this guy's criminal history, we've learned the same suspect was just released from custody this past summer after spending 15 years in prison for another break-in. News 6's Catherine Silver's been looking through dozens of records and spoke to the woman who said he broke into her home.
Even though Ronald Davis is back here in custody, she told me she doesn't want to speak on camera because she still worries about what happened to her back in 2009. She told me she came home, saw her back door was open, and then found Davis inside of her house. She said he tied her up with the cord from a phone charger and then ransacked her home. He was arrested, sentenced, and then released from prison just last year. Now here we are months later, and he's been arrested again.
Can we just take a few moments, and certainly we're praying for Lucy Pat.
The congregation at First Baptist Church Orlando is hoping for a miracle as 85-year-old Lucy Pat Curl remains hospitalized in a coma. A website where her loved ones are posting updates says there are no changes in her condition. The same site has dozens of comments from a community offering love and prayers.
It is such a senseless, violent event that I can't give you an explanation.
A senior pastor at the church said Curl's husband, a fellow pastor, was not home Friday when a man came to their door posing as a community service officer and forced his way inside.
And when he did, he began to hit her. She fell, and the fall did incredible damage along with the wounds that he gave her directly with his fist. And so he began to ransack the house while she was lying there in a pool of blood.
Police arrested Ronald Davis after they say he left his wallet inside the Curls' home. Records show the 56-year-old has spent nearly 40 of his years in and out of prison for similar crimes. We looked through decades of information and dozens of crimes listed by the Department of Corrections. Orange County court records show his most recent case was another burglary. This document says prosecutors initially asked for his sentence to be served day for day because the crime happened within 3 years of him being released from another correctional facility. Instead of serving a full sentence without any reduction, Davis signed this plea agreement months later, and it was decided the time served on all counts would run concurrent instead. This is a motion that was just filed by the state attorney's office that mentions those previous crimes and the time he served in prison for them. It asks that he be kept in custody until trial. In Orlando, I'm Catherine Silver, getting results. News 6.
Yeah, I got some more details, y'all. It wasn't that crazy. Broke into that woman's home and beat her within inches of her life. And he's been doing this. This nigga been out of jail. He's 56. So he's been doing this since he was 16. For the last 40 years, he's been in and out of jail. He's probably gay too. Why you keep? Nah, I ain't gonna say that because there's a lot of people. I think he's just demon possessed for one. You know, there's a whole bunch of homosexual acts that go on in prison. I don't know why you keep knowing where it's gonna end up, knowing how you're gonna end up back there. But I think it's more too. I think some people are just enslaved mentally, enslaved spiritually. That's one of the worst enslavements. Somebody enslave you physically. That's horrible too. Any type of enslavement is horrible. With that mental enslavement, that spiritual and emotional enslavement, it leads to physical enslavement. But I got a little bit more information. We're finna grill this nigga. We're finna throw his black ass on the grill. This is according to lawandcrime.com. High likelihood of not surviving. Pastor's wife crawled to garage to honk horn after being beaten by felon posing as community service officer. So, just like in the video, this nigga pretended to be an officer. Ronald Davis. It didn't take long for Florida police to figure out who brutally beat a pastor's wife after forcing his way into her home. The suspect, released from prison just 8 months ago, left his wallet behind. You see this nigga? They caught him because that's God working right there. He left his wallet behind at the scene of the crime. He left his wallet. At the scene of the crime, this nigga left his wallet. The victim's husband called the Orlando Police Department around 1:30 p.m. Saturday to report a break-in at his home in the 2300 block of Caribbean Court after he found his 85-year-old wife suffering from serious head wounds along with jewelry and other items missing from his home. According to a probable cause arrest affidavit, police found the wallet of 55-year-old Ronald Dwayne Davis in the home. Per cops, Davis walked out of a Florida prison in June after serving 15 years for burglary, false imprisonment, and other charges. It apparently didn't take long to allegedly return to his life of crime. Before doctors induced her into a coma, the victim relayed her version of events to detectives. She said she was preparing to leave for a hair appointment when she heard a knock on the door between 10:30 and 11 a.m. So this happened in the morning, y'all. This happened in the morning, between 10:30 and 11 a.m. in the morning. She thought someone may be in trouble, so she answered the door. The affidavit said the man, later identified as Davis, claimed to be a community service officer and needed to check her residence. The affidavit said she asked him for some identification, and he pulled out the aforementioned wallet with his ID. He then allegedly forced his way inside her home and started attacking her, dropping the wallet in the process. She tried to fight back but was rendered unconscious. Police would later find a crystal candy jar with her hair on it, suggesting that Davis may have beat her with it. My Lord, look at this. He beat this he beat the 85-year-old woman with a glass or a crystal candy jar. Them candy jars are heavy. She's old school. Those candy jars, he beat this woman upside her head with a candy jar. Crystal candy jar. When she woke up, when she woke up, the victim was bleeding from her head, and her ribs and back were hurting, per the affidavit. She couldn't find her phone, so she crawled to her garage, where she honked the horn on her car for some 15 minutes and hoped someone would help her. After no one came, she went to lay on the couch, where her husband found her a couple hours later. Paramedics rushed her to the hospital, where doctors induced her into a coma with the high likelihood of not surviving. Let me see. It gets worse. A search of the home revealed several items of jewelry were missing, according to the police. Armed with Davis' wallet, cops went to the suspect's house. He was apparently living in a shed on the home's property with his girlfriend. Detectives went to the shed where Davis initially gave his middle name, the affidavit said. When he opened the door, they positively identified Davis. Cops asked for his ID, but he allegedly claimed he had lost it along with his wallet a few weeks prior. His girlfriend also came to the door, and detectives reportedly noticed she was wearing several unique pieces of jewelry and rings. Oh, that's why I get two different sources. So he did all this to impress his girlfriend. This nigga got himself a charge of attempted. She may die. It may be attempted murder, then it may go up to murder. This man murdered an old woman, went upside her head with a crystal candy jar, beat her within inches of his life to impress this raggedy ass hood rat. He's living in a shed, right? Living in a shed. And she didn't even think, where'd you get this stuff? See, a lot of times these women know these men are into some foolishness. They just want the rewards. She don't care about this man's life. She does not care about his life. She just wants the bling. She just wants the money. His girlfriend also came to the door, and detectives reportedly noticed she was wearing several unique pieces of jewelry and rings. She allegedly later told officers that Davis had just given her the items. Cops also found more jewelry and coins, along with a bloody shirt inside the shed. That blood is probably from that old lady. Davis was arrested on charges of home invasion robbery with a weapon, aggravated battery on a person 65 or older with great bodily harm, and aggravated battery with a weapon. He's in the Orange County Jail without bond. He has a court hearing scheduled for Friday. If you guys like to check out this article, once again, it's lawandcrime.com. Who would y'all like my comment? Would y'all like some of this obviously rare podcast commentary? Well, of course you do. That's why your ass is here. I can't believe this. This story is absolutely bizarre. As I sit back and look at this world, I'm still looking at the world from a young man, a man that has a lot of fight left, a whole bunch of fight left. You sit back and wonder, this place is crazy. Earth, the place that we live in, the world that we live in is just crazy. It could be so beautiful at times. It could be so ugly. And it all goes back to the biblical days and the ups and downs of people's lives. But I know there's demons out there. That man is a demon, right? He's a demon. And when you look at life, you'd be like, damn, what did an 85-year-old woman do to deserve this? She's already at the end of life and looked like she was in her right mind because she's asking for identification. She's got a nice little home going together. She's into the church and she probably had other health complications. Of course, she's 85. But what would warrant getting bashed in the head with your own crystal candy jar, heavy? Them things, my grandma has one. Them things are heavy, and he beat this woman within inches of her life. They said she's not going to make it. There's a lot of trash in this world. This is why I go so hard. This is why I love separating myself away from trash, because people like this, they don't stop until you stop. And that's what I learned from the streets. That's what I learned from the ghettos. That's what you learn about life. Whether you work in a corporation, whether you're on the streets, you have to have that force, right? And understanding that sometimes, I'm speaking from a man's perspective. I never know what it's like to be an old woman. I'm pretty, she's older, she's weaker, but even then, just understand it. Not even in the physical aspect, just the mental aspect and the spiritual and emotional aspect of how we approach. There's a lot of evil people walking around here. There's a lot of evil people around here, and that's why I said I'm very cautious who I hang around with. I'm a cool dude, but this is my natural state. I like to be alone. I like to get my thoughts together. I like to impose my will, push off positive energy, push off that masculine energy, push off this godly energy, push off this force of light, because there's a lot of darkness in this world, and demons hate the light, right? So I always approach the world like people just evil. I'm always ready for the smoke, always ready. Even when I'm an old man, I probably gotta go to jail. I'm gonna defend my goddamn self. When you grow around people who have nothing to live for, when you grow up around people who are just bums, you grow around people who don't want nothing, and demons use these people to take life. Dark forces use these people to, these are the darkness that use the physical, which is the human body. They use the human body to torture other people. And so this darkness continues. Now you pushing that darkness to somebody else. If they're not in the right mind, if they're not aligned with God. So in other words, these dark forces use adults to touch children. These dark forces use people to murder other people, to encourage people to murder each other. This darkness fills souls with envy, fills souls with jealousy, fills souls with depression. This dark energy encourages people to take their own life. This is a very, very, very wicked world, and that's what I'm saying. I gotta move like this. If I even sense somebody trying to bring me down, my immediate reaction is to go off. My immediate to separate. And that's what it's all about, being great. You got to separate, or do your best to separate. If you in the ghetto, it's not the physical, it's the mindset of these people. It's the perception of life. And I understand. I'm going to tell you something. I think there's just a dark cloud that hovers over ghetto areas. I don't know if these places are cursed, but at the same day, it's the people that's keeping the tradition alive. It's the people that's keeping the mindset alive. And far as coming from poor places, I won't say that, coming from the ghettos, a lot of people are not poor-minded, and this is the worst thing I've seen in the ghettos, because I am one of them. What about the people in the ghetto that do want better? What do? Everywhere you turn, you can't get stuff done. Everywhere you turn, there's somebody trying to scam you. Everywhere you turn, there's a system in place to keep your black ass in chains. And to keep you in spiritual chains, to keep you in emotional chains. There's so many chains in the ghettos, it's impossible to get out. There's chains that your family puts on you, make you feel guilty. These are guilty chains. These chains, we especially in the black community, we love these type of chains. But in the poor areas. But I'm talking about the ghettos, because what I'm hearing that overseas, the poor communities don't move like the poor communities in America. Like, even though they're poor, they still have morals and they still have values. It's just poor. The government is messing it up. Now, I believe that to a degree, but what I've seen on the news, there's a lot of poor countries where they acting a fool, just like the poor people in America. So I think it's just location. But what I'm saying is this guilty chain. So I started this podcast episode off, don't let nobody guilt you into not being great and not to be, guilt you into not being successful, guilt you into not thinking positively, because that guilt chain, them chains are heavy. Them chains are heavy on the spirit. Them chains are heavy on the soul. Them chains are heavy on the mind. And ultimately, all of these chains will chain your black ass down physically to where you can never get out the ghetto. And that's a scary thing, because you're trying to get out. You're trying to do the right thing, but there's so much sin. There's so much negativity. There's so much self-pity. And that's why I say I view myself as a king starting this thing. I feel myself as a king as I'm building an empire. 250 gemstones is my empire. And it's like what your empire stands on. What is the morals? What is the morals? What is the values? What are the values of your kingdom? What are the morals of your kingdom? How does your kingdom influence people? And my kingdom is in no comparison to God's kingdom. My kingdom, let's say my kingdom expanded around the whole globe. We're pushing out positive energy. We're telling people about God. My little kingdom is in no comparison to God's kingdom, to Christ's kingdom. There's no comparison to Christ's kingdom, because he's the King of Kings. He's the Lord of Lords. He's the Prince of Peace. He's the King of Kings. He's the Lord of Lords. And he's the Prince of Peace. Full God, full human. The Son of God, the Son of Man. Right? So if I'm able to build, my kingdom should be a reflection of God's kingdom, right? So, like I've said, my kingdom may not be identical in the sense of how I may look in the beginning, how I look on the outside, maybe the way I talk, the way I walk, but my initial motives are exactly aligned with God, and I fully understand how the world works. I fully understand, there is beauty in human beings. There is beauty in life, and you just have to understand that you can't do it alone. You're going to need God. You're going to need the Son. You're going to need the Spirit to overcome whatever you're overcoming. Going back to this piece of trash, Mr. Davis that hit this lady over the head, it's obvious that he's ruled by demons. Are you Christians speaking that mumbo jumbo? Ronald Davis, I don't know. I don't know how he grew up. I don't know what caused it, but all I know is that woman didn't deserve it. And he's in a cycle that he will never get out of. He's 56. He's done. And it's a white woman too. You're done. It's a pastor's wife. He's done. And this is how demons work. See, the demon's going to move on and move on. Once the demons use you up, they're going to find another soul that's lost. They're going to find another soul that's plagued with all kind of things that make them stray away from God. So in other words, demons can't prey on me because I'm in a spiritual warfare. They can't attack. No, they can probably attack, but I understand that they coming. I understand that I know that I'm to trust in the Lord, that he's going to help me fight these battles, or he's going to fight the battles for me. But what I'm saying is these type of demons search for people who don't have the light. Because the demons, like I said in the beginning, that's how I started this episode, demons hate the light. So if you have God, if you have Christ, if you have the light, they're still going to try you. Don't get it twisted. They're still going to try you, but they know that the probability of them being effective is slim to none versus a person who don't know God, who don't know the Father, who don't know Christ, who doesn't have any understanding of the spiritual warfare. When you talk about these people who are just lost and angry and filled with sin and frustration and sorrow, it's a feast for demons. It's a feast. They can't rule over me because I'm already ruled by Christ. How you gonna rule over me? How you gonna rule over me and my knees bend to the kings of kings? As I'm going back to, I consider myself a king, not a king in the sense of, like I said, empires. You know, I love to build and motivate people and encourage people. This is my part of my kingdom, right? You know, in the Bible it said God never wanted kings, but then the Bible did anoint a king, King David, King Solomon. Kings were acclimated in the Bible. So the kings are here. But there's one king, the kings of all kings around the earth. All kings, all knees will bow to Jesus, right? So understanding spiritual warfare, understanding that how precious life is, understanding the more darkness that you understand how dark this world is, the more you understand how precious life is. How precious life is. So 2 lives were ruined, and the demons, like I said, they're going to go on and find other lost souls to prey upon. He's going to be in jail for the rest of his life. Probably going to get somebody going to go up in his butt, his old funky butt, or he's probably going to get him a little girlfriend up in there because he ain't never getting out. She is slowly dying. She's in a coma. And think about this. Think about the pastor. He has to may have to make that decision one day to pull the plug or not. He's going to have to make a decision whether to pull the plug or not, because he went upside her head so many times with that crystal candy jar. They say she's not going to make it. It's damn near confirmed that she's not going to make it. She was already old. She was already 85. She's already, weak. She's still in her right mind, but he went upside her head, and once you start bleeding from your head, especially at that age, man, and like I said, we don't know the specific details on how hard, but he had a bloody t-shirt, and he's a dumbass criminal. He left his wallet there. I mean, he's already done based off that, and then he had a bloodied shirt when they found his raggedy ass in the shed. This nigga is the worst of the worst. So it's very unfortunate, but like I said, you gotta stay positive. Y'all gotta stay positive and live life to the fullest, man. The only way to really live life to the fullest is living through God and protect yourself. I'm a firm believer in protecting yourself. Get you some lawyers, stay out, do your best to stay out the way, and if you are in the way, make sure God is at the forefront of your battles. Even when you're defending yourself, you got a stalker. He's like, God, I don't know what else to do. I got a restraining order. I don't know what else to do. This man's popping up at my job. I'm telling the police. What you gonna do? See, these are tough situations that I've never been in, but I know me. I say, hey, I got to go address this issue and address it wholeheartedly, because, like I said, these are the type of people, demonically driven people, angry people, low life bums. They're not going to stop until you stop them. Once again, those of you that been following me since day one, I appreciate y'all. Those of you who just found the podcast, just found the channel, I appreciate y'all too. 2025 is starting off pretty good. Got a few more things I have to work out. I'm just blessed. Getting back to running. It's warming up a little bit. It's getting cold. I love this weather. It's cool. It's not too cold. It's not too hot. It feels amazing. Just going hard in the paint every day. Working out. Getting my health up. Putting out more videos. Expanding. Getting better at business. Getting the product out there. And, just taking care of business. We're just taking care of business, still having fun. Life. This is what it's all about. Life, living. If y'all got children, kiss them babies, protect them babies, teach them babies something. Your grandparents, You know, take care of your babies too. Play with your grandkids. Play with all your kids. Life is so short. Life is so precious, man. Life is so short. Life is so precious. So give it all you got. Don't be afraid to separate yourself from trash. Once again, I'm your host, Michael T. Porter, 250 capital G. Obviously Rare Podcast. I'm gone.